If you are joining us today, you're here for the Educator Exchange, where you get peer-proven lessons today so that you can teach them tomorrow. And today, we're going to be talking about digital citizenship. Feel free to ask us anything in the chat. Know that this is being recorded, so you can watch it after today. We'll share it in an email, and we will post it on our website. And we'd love for you to join in the conversation on social media with us and use hashtag PebbleGo. Today, we're going to do quick introductions, talk about some great resources you can use in October from Capstone. Our guest speaker, Leticia, will share digital citizenship. We'll have some Capstone reminders and questions, so feel free to ask questions in the chat as we go. So to start off with, I'd like to introduce Leticia, who is an education coach for Samsung Education. She collaborates with educators to transfer skills from training into the classroom and to utilizing technology to increase engagement and creativity in their classrooms and beyond. Previously, she was an instructional technology coach at a TK5 school and taught kinder, first, and fifth grade for over 18 years. Wow. Welcome, Leticia. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'll go back one. My name is Angie Kaltoff. I work at Capstone. I'm an innovation advisor, and I too was in the classroom. I taught English language to kindergartners and was a technology integration coach for a K-12 district. And we have our special colleague, Jenna, on the call. She'll be in the background helping with any technical issues and launching some polls for us. She's on our marketing team here at Capstone. Our purpose at Capstone is that we help kids succeed by making learning fun. They're successful and they're having fun when they're using our resources. And with our core values today, I'm going to invite you to let curiosity lead the way and ask questions and be curious. Think about how you could apply this in your learning situations. If you're new to Capstone and you haven't used any of our resources yet, we've been around and we've been making learning fun since 1991. So more than 30 years we've been making our digital resources. And today we're going to be looking at our PebbleGo suite. So we're here to help you transform your teaching and learning. Our PebbleGo platform is a secure and developmentally appropriate tool for your students to use. Our books and articles are aligned to the standards that you teach with, and we have a variety of resources to supplement your core curriculum. So if we start looking at some of those fun resources outside of our books and articles, one of the things we can look at is our choice boards. So this month we're looking at digital citizenship. And if I go to our digital citizenship choice board, I'm going to ask Jenna to put that in the chat for you. We have different PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next articles that your students can click on to learn more about digital citizenship. So if you're subscribed to our resources, when they click on digital media literacy, it will bring them right into that resource. So this choice board will give them choice in what they're wanting to learn about as they're learning about digital citizenship. We also have fun monthly calendars. So we have an October calendar that focuses mainly on our books, and we have one that focuses mainly on our PebbleGo and PebbleGo Next nonfiction articles. And each month in this series, we're going to start with a question from a student. So I'm going to show you how you can help Sarah in this situation. Sarah says, my friend said that she found an axolotl in her backyard. Where do they live? So let's help Sarah understand where axolotls live. First, I'm going to go into a Capstone interactive ebook. And if you're using Clever, you might experience this as you log in. Makes it nice and seamless for you. I'll open my Capstone interactive ebook on axolotls. I'm going to go into my table of contents. I'm going to go right into where in the world. So let's see, where do axolotls live? So right here, I know that they live in Mexico, okay? And when we work with our students and we're teaching them how to find trusted information and make sure that what they find is valid and that they can look at it in another resource and find that same answer, I'll go back and I'll go into a PebbleGo article. And let's go to axolotls in PebbleGo and see where do axolotls live? So I can go through these different tabs at the top, and in the habitat, I find out they live in Mexico City. And I can go into my range map and see that, oh, here we go. This is where axolotls live. So if we go back to our friend Sarah, if they live in Mexico, then yes, there might be an axolotl in her backyard. If they don't live in Mexico, I'm not quite sure if she found one in her backyard. So before I hand it over to Leticia to talk more about digital citizenship, we have a poll that we're going to launch for you. We want to know how prepared you feel to teach digital citizenship. And we also want to know what are the other webinar topics that we can do here at Capstone that would help support you. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Leticia start sharing her screen.
Perfect. I was kind of bummed. I was trying to answer on the poll. And it was like, panelists and hosts can't share. Like, darn, I like to share those things. All right. All right, so I was gonna go ahead and jump in. Is that cool? All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from, whether you are here live or watching the recording. I just want to send out blessings and greetings to everyone. And so just to start off a little bit about who I am. I actually like to share two different ways that I like to introduce myself, whether it is, on a webinar, if I'm part of a cohort, anytime that I can. And because I'm such a fan of Create, formerly Bunsey, for those of you that don't know, and that'll be my last time that I call it that name. But I just wanted to share how I like to, share bits of who I am, and so here is one that I like to use, and you can see here that I've included not only pictures of my family, but where I went to school. I'm currently in a doctorate program. You can see that. What I do as an education coach, other hats that I may wear. I always like to include a fun fact. I've even included how many hours my family and I actually spent in complete quarantine. But this is just, again, a creative way for me to introduce myself. And then I've also included more of my professional business card that I like to share with friends. And again, something that I love and create is that I can actually hyperlink things. So this will actually send you out just so that you can learn about more who I am, but you can see that I serve as an ambassador and a trainer for quite a few of our edtech platforms, including Capstone and Create, because I really feel that they not only listen to teacher feedback, but as well as students. And it's really spaces where students not only can receive information, but also be as creative and as thoughtful as they possibly want to be, just having that choice and really elevating their voices. So check those out. But I love just sharing that. So got a bit about me, and now we are going to go ahead and move forward. And so anytime that I was leading, and currently still, anything about digital citizenship, whether it is with students, and I specifically worked with students from TK through fifth grade. So not only in my own self-contained classroom did I teach kinder, first grade, and fifth grade, but then as a instructional technology coach, I actually pushed into every class from our TK to fifth graders. And that was exciting. Over, what was it, 640 students that I got to see in a 2-week span. But whether it was working with them, whether it was working with parents, whether it's working with teachers, I love to start off. And I use this quote not only in the beginning, but we would revisit it again midway through the year and then at the end of the year, however often I was meeting with teachers. But I love to share this quote that digital citizenship is the responsible use of technology to learn, to create, and to participate. And so I love to have audience members just sit with that and really kind of take a deep dive into what is it that they notice? What is it that they wonder? and how is it applicable to them, right? Oftentimes, and I would say definitely, maybe in the beginning, a large portion of us, our use when it came to navigating virtual spaces may have been just to consume, right? And so there was that learning component that's there. And I tell students, and I let even adults know that even if you're just watching videos, you are doing some type of learning, right? Like your brain is taking in this information, and whether it's like sits in the back for a long periods of time, or if it's right up front and you're like taking that to then apply it to something else, there is some type of learning that's happening, whether actively or voluntarily or involuntarily, right? Then you've got this other verb of creating. And this has become more, I would say, within the last 10 years or so, that we're really pushing this whole idea of that, like, there is some creating that can happen that would not happen necessarily, or maybe in a different way with like just in person, right? With paper, pencil, crayons, like all those things that we can use to create. But then how can we make this transformational, like just take it to a whole nother level that we can create? And that can be done, through video. It is through podcasting, right? That our voices then being shared with others around the world. And it really makes this world kind of small. Right. And we can like access things and access each other and access our creations just with our fingertips. And then lastly, this participation, and how are we participating? So not only when we share our creations, but then like how are we engaging with each other to discuss those things? How are we using it to participate and discuss topics? How are we doing so right now in this space virtually where you all can participate while still learning? And then maybe later you go and do something where you add that creation part. So really looking at how in our day, whether it's in classroom spaces with students, whether it is at home with our own families, whatever space that you navigate where there are others, whether virtually or in person, that like, what are your percentage of your day that when you're navigating these virtual spaces, is it where you're actually learning, creating, and participating? So there's even a link down here where you can take a look, thanks to Common Sense Education and the work that they're doing with the Harvard Graduate School, that you can take a look. And this is where I actually pulled this quote from. All right. And so the other part of this is when I am working with students specifically in the classroom, my goal is to create this positive digital culture. And I really feel that I can do so, and it's transcended with this combination of common sense digital citizenship curriculum, as well as the resources that are available in Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next. And so as we heard earlier from Angie, you've got Pebble Go, that's specifically for our littles, like our K3-ish, K2, right? And then you've got your Pebble Go Next for 3-5. But again, depending on where our students are, they may be able to access all of those resources because they are phenomenal. And so I really feel strongly about utilizing these two resources because I feel like both of them combined, they're truly developmentally engaging, they're flexible and easy to implement. They address the 6 core topics that are for digital citizenship according to Common Sense curriculum, and that they really teach students to think critically and develop the habits of mind to navigate digital dilemmas. And so, and if at any point that you have questions about these things, please, by all means, please let us know in the chat. Or if you're watching the recording and you've got questions, or you just want to like, I don't know, talk about these things and dig even further into what they are and how I'm using them or how you're going to use them or what you're thinking about, please don't hesitate to reach out. And so an activity that I've done with this specifically is what I like to call digital citizenship check-ins. And I kind of do this in combination with also human check-ins, what I do with students. And so in doing so, it's an opportunity for students to share how they are being safe online. I always like to tell teachers, whatever I ask my students to do, I'm also doing as well, because I am part of that community. And I also need to reflect and be transparent about my practices as a digital citizen. I'm going to use the Create tool that you can find. It's embedded in Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next, or you can use it in isolation as well, which is what I often do too. And every time students are answering this question of how have you practiced media balance. So again, remember I shared with you that I was pushing into these classes every 2 weeks. And so that's how we started class. I wanted them to reflect. And let's be honest, with our littles, it might take them a little bit, right? Like asking them what they did this morning or an hour ago might take them a minute. And let's be real, some of us olders are doing that as well, right? But like having them to walk through, and maybe it's just they remembered what they did yesterday, even though they really meant 2 weeks ago, right? So we have to like account for all the thought processes that our students are going through. But really, it's a time for us to reflect on like how have we practiced media balance. And I love to connect it to, again, here's where I'm tying in common sense resources as well as Pebble Go. I'm in Pebble Go Next. Is I spoke earlier about those 6 strands. I kind of just mentioned them, but one of the strands of the 6 is that media balance and well-being, which is what we're practicing, and how we can find balance in our digital lives. And so if you click on that link, once you have the resources, you can see that I specifically linked that media balance and well-being, and you can see what that looks like across the grade levels, right? So you've got from kinder all the way down to 12th grade, and you've got these different lessons that are already here. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can click on one, and it not only gives you all the information, the vocabulary, but you've got slide decks. Some of them might come with videos. It's all editable, right? Not to be confused with edible. But you could go ahead and take a look. The standards are there, but it is a phenomenal resource. Here we go. That you can take a look at. So when I'm doing that with students, again, and we're taking that deep dive and what it really means to practice. So here we go. Starting off asking students this question without any background, any foundation, they're going to be lost. Like I do this even with teachers, and they'll say, what do you mean by media balance? And then we have that conversation. So I definitely start to do this after I've done one of the lessons that's, according to grade level in common sense. And after we've also looked at the resources that are available with Capstone. So I've linked a couple here that are, again, specific to the grade level span. So you've got one here where it talks about digital citizenship. It looks at screen time. It looks at understanding media.
Understanding media.
Yeah, I always have to remember to turn that off. So don't be alarmed. That's coming from Capstone, but it's an accessibility tool. How great is that, right? That by default it's on. I love it. So, students can go through, read the information or have it read to them because the Pebble Go or Capstone is just really dedicated to meeting the needs of all the learners. So I like to then have students go ahead and take a deep dive into that. And then the second part of it is now, again, still trying to answer that question, how have you practiced media balance? Because I've already done the foundation work with them about trying to understand what does that mean? And now it becomes, what does that look like? What does that look like for yourself? What does that look like for your families in some situations, right? I'm going to tell you right now, kids are so willing to tell on your parents about what kind of practices they have before they're willing to tell on their own. Just saying. So kids are watching, kids are reflecting, kids have questions, and they are telling the world. So here are 2 activities. The first one, the one that's on top, is specifically for my littles, K2. And so how they answer this question about their media balance is they're going to answer how they stayed safe when they went online. And then the second part of it is something that they did when they were not on their iPad. And students, you can sub that out for whatever tool, right? It might be a tablet, it might be a computer, whatever that digital tool is, what is something that they did outside of that? And then for our older students, this actually came from, it is one of the resources that's provided by Common Sense, and I just brought it over into Create. And the other thing I want to say too is like allowing students to, because what's great about Create is that there are so many ways that students can respond. So they can use text, they can bring in images that are already readily available with inside the tool. But for my 3-5 students, they are specifically going to answer what media did they use, right? So whether it is what is that, a P5 or the Nintendo, what are all the things, right? Like all of that counts. Even when students say, well, I wasn't on anything, I was just watching TV. Huh, what were you watching that on, right? So getting them to see like all of that of like their media balance, of when and what time of day, and then how much time. And again, while I share with students, and you can see right here this option where it says the clip, students, when I share this out with them, I could either directly share the link to any LMS that I'm using. So whether that's Google Classroom, maybe it's Seesaw, maybe it's Schoology, right? Or I could have set up, oh, I knew this was gonna happen. Why are you doing this to me right now? Let's see. You can watch me do this in real time. All right, here we go. I knew there was a tab here with my account already logged in. All right, but you can see that also in Create, you can set up classes. And so I could share that assignment directly into classes. So that way students would then take it for themselves and go ahead and complete the assignment. There's also boards where if I don't want to use classes, then I could either have students share the link directly again on that LMS to turn it in as an assignment, or share here on the board so that way they can all see each other's responses. So you've got several ways, because remember, one of those verbs is to participate, right? And they're creating. So now I always tell my students, and I always share with teachers, my eyes should not be the only eyes that see our students' creations. And so we want them to share with each other. We want them to connect with other classrooms. We want them to connect with classrooms not only on their campus, but also across the globe. And this is where we get to really leverage those tech tools. All right, and I'm trying to wrap up. So I want to make sure that you also have access to the resources that I was using. I spoke to the Common Sense strand and that curriculum. This link will take you directly there. You've got some SEL, again, just like Capstone, being concerned with everyone's well-being, so is Common Sense. And so this link will take you directly to those SEL activities and lessons that, you can decide if it's just for 15 minutes, or do you want a whole entire like time with them that covers more than 15 minutes, right? I've also linked here specifically the lessons or the articles that students can read specifically about the internet, taking a deep dive there, as well as for our elders and Peppa Go Next. That link is there too for all of those resources. So please, take your time with it. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. But everything is there for you to just, what did you say earlier, Angie? Like what they see today, they can actually put in practice tomorrow. I don't know. That was the gist of it, but I
Yep.
don't want to, but there it is. So have fun with it.
So while you're stopping your screen share, and I'll share mine, we did have a question come in if you want to answer it now. The question is, what are some common research practices that your students follow?
Yes, because that is something that we have to model, and not only model, but give students practice with. And so, in the beginning as a scaffold, I'm providing like the sites that I want students to access. But even with that, working together to go through what are the ways that we can find out if this is a valid resource, whether it is online or if it's a book that we have or a magazine, right? So we look at things such as the date, who is the author or who is the publishing company. We go through the site. Angie, you mentioned it earlier that if you read a fact, what's considered a fact in one space, can you then find it in at least 2 to 3 more resources? So walking through students, again, even the ones that I specifically say, hey, I've vetted these and I know that these are valid resources, walking my students through that same process with those to say like, hey, let's fact check Miss Citizen, right? Like, is she being honest in this? What did you use? And walking them through that process. So again, looking at things like the date, looking at things like the author, when it was published, who published it, who can control what information is shared in that space. Those are the kind of things that we really look at with students, and Pebble Go has that directly on their site.
We do. Yeah, we make it easy for your students to cite their source. So when you're in a book or an article, you can click the citation button and get this right here. They can copy it and bring it over into their Create activity or a Google Doc, whichever tools you're using. So thanks for answering that question. I'm just going to share a quick few more reminders before we end our time today. So we want you to join us each month, the second Tuesday of the month from 5 to 5:30 Eastern Time. These are the topics we have coming up for the rest of the school year. So next month when we have our webinar, we'll be talking about the Hour of Code and how you can use our resources to help supplement your activities. If you're in a school district that uses Google Classroom or Clever, please reach out to us. We'd love to help you get set up so it's easy for your students to log in using those tools. We are currently working on a ClassLink integration, so if you have questions about that, put them in the chat or reach out. And if you're in one of these states listed on my screen here, you might have access to resources that you might not know about, because in each of these states and regions, we have a partnership with maybe a statewide library or a BOCE or another type of consortium. And so we would like to help you get your account set up. So if you don't know about it and you're in one of these states, find your local sales representative and they will get you set up. You can either go to the QR code or the URL here, and I think Jenna just put it in the chat for us. And congratulations, because you're here today. You get a certificate of attendance, and we will mail that out to you because you attended live. And one other resource that is incredibly helpful is the PebbleGo Pulse. So it's a newsletter, a digital newsletter that's going to go out and share all things ebooks and articles with you. This month, we just sent this one out today, and it's all about AI, artificial intelligence, and we have a couple articles linked and an ebook. I don't see any more questions coming in, so we're going to launch that poll one more time. We want to see, coming into the webinar, listening to our amazing guest speaker share all about digital citizenship, and now, how do you feel? How prepared do you feel to teach digital citizenship after today? And then I'm just going to end the poll real quick and leave this slide up as we thank you for joining us today and thank you for your time. I'll stay on a few minutes in case there's a few more questions, but Leticia, thank you for joining us. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you all again next month.
Thank you so much. Enjoy, everyone.
Bye.